Welcome to the Business of America Miami with your host, Gelet Fragela.
Welcome back to the Business of America podcast, where we dive into the people and ideas that are shaping the future of health, science, and innovation. And today, I'm thrilled to be joined by Dr. Ivette Daly. She's a board-certified orthodontist from North Carolina, and she has an inspiring journey that began in Cuba, went through Costa Rica, and eventually led her to a career here in the U.S. in dentistry. And she's also a mom of two, a voracious reader, and someone who brings heart, precision, and a lot of warmness into every patient interaction. So welcome, Ivette. I'm thrilled to have you here in Business of America.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Before we begin, for those who might not be familiar with your work, can you tell us a little bit about your journey, how you went from growing up in Cuba and Costa Rica and moved later on to here to South Florida, and how you became a board-certified orthodontist here in the U.S.?
Yeah. So as you mentioned, I was born in Cuba, and I lived there until about the age of 6, where my family decided to leave, and we lived in Costa Rica after that for about 4 years, where I started kind of just my journey in an American school. So we were very blessed. I was able to learn English, even though I wasn't in the U.S. I learned English. So when we transitioned to the U.S., it was kind of a very easy transition because I already knew the language. And so I was able to integrate myself into just regular classes from the get-go. And so I graduated high school in Florida and went to the University of Florida, where I got my microbiology major. And then from there, it just kind of went all the way through. I went through dental school in North Carolina. So I left Florida to go to North Carolina for dental school, and I loved it. And I stayed there for orthodontics. So that was 3 more years, and decided to stay in North Carolina because I really loved the family feel. It's just a little bit more slower lifestyle. So it was great for my family, and one day I was going to open my own practice. And so here I am, and we have been open for about less than a month now. So it's been a very interesting month.
Well, congratulations. Congratulations on opening your clinic. And I saw pictures, and it's such a gorgeous place. I want to talk a little bit about that. What inspired you to take this big step, and what vision do you have for the kind of experience that you want to create for your patients there?
Yeah, so I've been working as an associate after residency. So I worked at another clinic. It was a great experience. I gained a lot of knowledge. I was able to treat a lot of patients. But I think when you start working for somebody else for that long, you start to realize that you have your own vision and your own way of doing things. And I just gained a different vision. I wanted my office to be different. I wanted to feel different than the current experience that I was in. I also felt like the environment was changing a lot, where dentistry is going very corporate. And so I found myself in a more corporate environment, and nothing wrong with it. It's just a different feel, and it's a different experience in my belief. And I wanted to offer something a little bit more personal, a little bit more interaction with, one-on-one with the orthodontist. And I think that's where it came from. I just felt like it was moving so heavy towards corporate that I felt like this was the time. Like if I'm ever going to open an office, this is when I have to do it, before it becomes very difficult.
I want to go back to that because I have noticed there is a big change or shift into the medical profession in general, where everything is very corporate. And this, the small clinics that are owned by doctors, by physicians, are somehow like becoming a thing of the past. Is it harder now to open your own practice when everything is like a conglomerate or a franchise or becoming like that?
I mean, the opportunity is still there, but it's definitely, from 50 years ago, it's very different. So I think for a young orthodontist coming in, it used to be very common to go ahead and buy a practice from an existing orthodontist. And I think that's still there. But because corporate is becoming so prevalent, there's a lot of enticement to go ahead and sell to corporate. And so the younger doctors don't find the same opportunities, or we can't compete with what a corporate can offer. And so that was also a big thing, a big decision why I opened my own practice. So I decided I don't even want to try to buy anything. I don't want to turn someone else's office into my office. I just want to start from scratch and do my own thing from day one. Um, so I do think that there is still opportunity there, but it's not like it used to be. And 20, even just
And the
20
and
years
the
ago.
relationship with the patient, I think, is different when the physician owns the practice. Correct?
Yeah, I mean, you have more skin in the game. I think you have, it's still yours. It's still your baby. So you still are gonna make sure everything's done correctly. And again, you're still gonna do that when you're in corporate. I mean, it's your job, and so if you're still gonna take that very seriously, and I think patient care is always gonna be taken seriously, but you don't have as much decision making. So if I want to do a free treatment, I can. It's my office. I can do it if I want to, if I want to help someone. And so I can't make those kind of decisions when I'm in corporate. I got to follow certain rules and decisions that they make from up top.
Yeah, so it goes back to a lot of like the kind of leader you want to be, and having the flexibility to be the kind of leader that you want to be in your own workplace. Correct?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's being able to lead the team the way I want to lead the team. I think creating an environment for my team and how we're going to address certain situations. I think I have more say on how I want my office to feel. So I think that part is really nice.
Well, it's definitely a challenge. What has surprised you the most, either in the process of opening your practice or in how the community has responded so far?
I think, well, the biggest surprise was there's so much I didn't realize I didn't know. I mean, I think when you go through so much schooling, I know how to do teeth, I know how to do all the technical stuff, but when you put yourself in a business position, all of a sudden I have to learn about accounting, I have to learn about the loans, I have to learn about the architecture, like how to plan, how to build the office and learn about the construction so that you know exactly what's going on. But I think I surround myself with a lot of experts in different fields, and I decided I don't know what I don't know. So I'm going to, seek out help. And I also felt like the community of orthodontists is amazing because we all help each other. So I joined a group on Facebook of startups. So everyone who's, in the process of startups or have done startups, we all help each other. We ask questions, and they've all been very open and they share their experience. And so that's been very helpful. And I also felt like the community that I opened my office in has been very welcoming as well. I mean, I think the dentists have been very welcoming. Even the other orthodontists in the area have been very welcoming. And so it feels like everyone is, you know, I think because we want to keep it small and not corporate feel, I think we connect really well together. The patients have been great as well. I think uh, coming in and opening an office where I speak Spanish, I think that's been very great in our area, and I've noticed kind of an interest in that, so that's been really great.
Oh, that's very interesting. So I also seen how orthodontics is so rapidly evolving, right? What do you see are the biggest challenges the profession is facing today in the age of AI and with all the technological advancements that we have today?
Well, there's I think there's a lot of positive things for AI. I mean, I think the one thing about my office that I love is I've been able to incorporate a lot of technology, and some of that is AI. But I think education is very important in trying to educate the patients that there's so much that AI can do, but it still cannot replace a real person. So while there's companies out there that use AI so that you can do orthodontics from home, I mean, where you get your trays mailed to you and everything, you still have to remember that there is a biological side to moving teeth. And so it's really important to keep a dentist or an orthodontist kind of tracking your treatment, because it's not always going to respond the way that the AI thinks it's going to respond. And, things happen where infections happen. And if there's no one monitoring you, a lot of things, negative things can happen. But AI itself, I mean, I use it a lot and I use it every day in my office. We have a scanner. So when a patient comes in, we scan their teeth and I can, within a minute or two, give them a simulation of what their teeth could look like. I take pictures of their smile and I can show you a before and after what your smile can look like. So it's a great tool to communicate and it's a great tool to educate. But it's still a tool and it can't always predict how things are going to happen 100%.
Correct. So whereas in the hands of a professional, it's different than, I know that a lot of startups are promoting right now direct to consumer aligner kits using AI generated treatment plans. And I've heard of some people that say, oh, it didn't come out, the results were not what I expected. So what are your thoughts on this model? I know you already explained a little bit about it, but in terms of patient safety and also the ethics behind it, because like you say, you cannot anticipate how teeth are going to move and AI cannot see that sometimes. Are you seeing a lot of that especially in that area of orthodontics with the aligner kits becoming so popular?
Yeah, I mean, every once in a while you'll get cases of patients that come in who went through some sort of at home treatment, but then they end up in our office because it either didn't work or they didn't have customer support, they didn't get the final result they wanted, the company is no longer in existence, things like that, and so um, ethically, I think there's a lot of issues with it. I mean, when we start a patient, we check the dentist. We check that they've had cleanings every 6 months, that they don't have any cavities, that they don't have any infections, because a lot of things can go wrong if I start moving teeth and they have infection. They could lose teeth. A periodontal gum disease can happen during treatment if it's not monitored. So there's X-rays need to be taken to make sure that the teeth are healthy and that you can move them. And then we make sure that they continue care with the dentist throughout their treatment. And so when those things are not done and those things are not met, that's when I think it's an ethical problem, because you can start having things happen like infections that can be very serious for a patient if it's not monitored, and then they can start losing teeth. And so it can go wrong very quickly if it's not monitored by a dentist or an orthodontist.
Okay, and what would you say is your guiding philosophy with when you're tailoring a treatment plan for different age groups? The difference between treating kids or teenagers or adults?
In terms of how to treatment plan them, or
Yeah, like the difference between how do you approach, even in terms of patient education, right? I assume it's very different from, how a teenager might take care of even its own treatment, or how do you approach a kid?
yeah.
What are the difference that you encounter in treating so many different age groups?
I think the biggest thing is finding what their motivation is. And so, different age groups are going to have different motivations. So, my adult patients are very aesthetically motivated. So, they came because they want a smile, something with their smile to change. A lot of them need other dental care. So, they might need implants or crowns and things like that. And so, they came to me because that's the first step before continuing their care. So finding what their motivation is going to help me guide them, guide their treatment, and guide how I'm going to educate them of what they need and how and why they need it. I think for the younger patients, it's also finding what their motivation is. So a lot of times it's just mom and dad wants this, So my philosophy is you might not be excited about it, but are you going to work with me on it? And if you say no, then I'm not going to do it, no matter what mom and dad said, because I do need compliance and I need someone to be on board with the treatment. But I will say, I think teens and kids are a lot more excited about braces now than they were when I was growing up and I had braces. So a lot of them want it because their friends have braces. And so it's not that hard to get their motivation. And so usually when they really want it, I just tell them, as long as you brush and you clean and you do what you're supposed to do, you can have them and have fun, and you can have all the, colors you want. And so that's been fun. Some kids don't want braces, and I offer a lot of Invisalign in my office. So whether they are 9 years old, 15, or 70, I do a lot of Invisalign. And so if you don't want braces, but you still want the aesthetic results, I'm okay with doing Invisalign with a 9-year-old as long as we kind of understand how it works, and then that sometimes motivates them. If I tell them, "Well, I can do it without braces as long as you wear them," that's a good motivating factor.
Dr. Daly, so what factors do you weigh most when recommending aligners versus for patients, talking between braces and Invisalign? What is the difference?
So with the braces, they are on their teeth 24/7, and so a lot of the work is done by us when they come to see us. So they really just need to maintain them and make sure that everything's clean, and so it's a little bit less work on them. The aligners do require more compliance, so they have to be worn. So if you don't wear them, they don't work. I mean, I always tell my patients, they work just as well as your braces as long as you wear them very well. If you don't wear them, you might as well not have them on. And so when I factor whether to do aligners or braces, I'm looking at hygiene. So if it's a younger patient and their hygiene is not great, I'm going to automatically do Invisalign because I think they can brush, they can take them off, and I don't have to worry about the hygiene. Um, and then I think lifestyle is gonna be the biggest thing, especially for my adult patients. So if it's a mom of 5 kids and she's running around from play dates and soccer practice, then I might not offer you Invisalign. I mean, I can offer it, but I will be very honest and say, "You might have a hard time wearing these if you're gonna be very forgetful, if you're gonna leave them, like, somewhere else." And so I might offer braces, but when a patient comes in, I always offer both, and then I have them present.
Definitely. I want to ask you a little bit about your professional development and your specialization in the past, because I've read that you focus your master's research on early childhood dental trauma. What are the key insights that came from that, and how are you applying those insights and when you learned during your master's into your daily day practice?
So what I learned a lot about trauma is just it helped me when I see patients now, and depending what their level of activity or their sports, things like that. I try to guide the parents into what they can do to try to avoid certain trauma. But I think the biggest thing is just being able to how to handle those traumas. So I try to coach my patients and their parents that if something does happen, they need to call us right away, and because it makes a big difference if you come see me an hour after a trauma or come see me 2 days after trauma. Big difference about the likelihood of being able to keep those teeth. I always also tell them that braces are actually a great way to keep teeth in the mouth when they do have trauma. So, it's actually a positive to have braces when they're, going through
Really?
something
How is that so?
because so if you think about, let's say you fall off a trampoline or you get hit with an elbow in the mouth, you are likely going to get your teeth knocked out, or have any fractures of the bone in the bony area. But the braces keep everything attached, and so if you get hit, your teeth might be displaced and they might move, but they'll stay in your mouth and they'll stay in there. And what I need to do is go in and push them back in and move them back into place with the braces. Versus if you didn't have anything in there, there's a higher chance that you might actually lose those teeth. So it actually can save your teeth at some point. But it also, if you don't have braces, that's okay. But oftentimes, if you come see me and you get trauma, I will put braces on. And I'll put them on for 3 to 6 months to try to move the teeth back into place and stabilize everything. And so that's how I tend to treat those traumas for patients who don't have, are not already in treatment. So it was very
So your
eye-opening.
recommendation would be go immediately to see a specialist.
Immediately.
Do not
Mhm.
wait.
Do not wait. The longer you wait, the more likely, the more difficult it is to move those teeth, the more likely you'll need root canal treatment, or you might lose those teeth later on. Yeah, because they get locked into place. And so the faster you start moving them back into position, the less
Mhm.
trauma those teeth are going to feel.
What are the most common accidents that you see in your practice or throughout your career?
Um,
When
some sort of sports. I mean, basketball is a big one. Trampolines is one of the worst ones for the younger patients. They tend to fall off of those and knock some teeth out. And then baseball is a big one. So baseball to the mouth is a pretty dangerous trauma too.
And what emerging technologies or research excite you right now? What are the things that you're seeing in the industry that you are looking forward in terms of, technological advancements? We talk a little bit about AI, but is there something else that's coming out that you excited for?
Um, well, I mean, aligners right now are a big part of the AI, and there's so much that we can do with aligners now that we couldn't do before. And so, like I said, now I'm not really worried about braces or aligners. I can do a lot with either one. The
Mhm.
biggest the coolest thing with it is 3D printing nowadays. I mean, I'm very excited to see what 3D printing can do. I have a 3D printer in my office, but it's moving towards instead of printing models to make your retainers and your aligners, they're talking about actually just printing the the aligners, sorry. So you can even
Oh,
skip a step from there. So that's a big thing going on. 3D imaging is getting even better, and being able to integrate your 3D imaging of your teeth with the software for the aligners. There really is a lot going on that is very exciting.
so how do you balance? I know you have two little kids, a baby and a toddler.
Yes.
You're opening your practice, and well, you're also married, so that takes time. So how do you balance it all, and what are the challenges that you're encountering? You're from a mental health standpoint right now to keep it all together.
Um, it is definitely a balance, and it's not always balanced out very well. So I think it's
Mhm.
something has to give sometimes, unfortunately, and so it tends to be a lot of coffee and not a lot of sleep, because I also have a part-time job as well. So I mean, there's a lot of things, but I think I have to always remind myself. I try to remind myself when I get home to put the phone down. um, get away from the emails. They're always going to be there. I struggled with that in the beginning. I think when I was opening the practice, you feel like there's so much going on 24/7 that you do tend to sacrifice some time with family, but you just always have to remind yourself like this. I mean, this is very important, but your kids, I think the one thing I've learned is that they grow up way too fast. So, my daughter's already 5, and I feel like I blinked and she's 5. And so I've really tried to, the reason why I opened the office, I think, is because I wanted to spend more time with my kids. So at first, that's kind of difficult because it is a challenge to open the office, but the ultimate goal is that I am my own boss and I can dictate my schedule and I can dictate my time so that I can be at recital practice and soccer practice, and I can still ultimately spend more time with my family. But it is a challenge. I don't sleep a lot.
Yes, no, I understand, especially at the beginning, putting it all together and creating all of the processes. Because people, when they're open a business, and especially they come from a medical profession or even lawyers, but they're not familiar with all of the processes that go into having a business, like you say, like the bookkeeping and your taxes and all the administrative infrastructure that you need to
Yeah.
have in place. So, going back to other young orthodontists like you, what advice would you give to future dentists or orthodontists, anyone in the medical field, that want to start their own business?
Um, I think the biggest thing is to just have that motivation, like you can do it. I think the hardest part, especially as a female and a mom, was believing that I could do it. Because you feel like you're so busy, and so you get kind of sucked into your world of just working, and then just going home and not thinking about it. And I just never thought that I was the kind of person that could do it because I mean, I'm not a business person. I don't know bookkeeping. I don't, so I think stepping away from that mindset and just realizing that you can do it. And there's something you don't know, you can figure it out. You can ask other people. And so I surrounded myself with other colleagues that were very motivating. I mean, they kind of just either they were in the process of doing it themselves or they told me, you can do it. Just start asking questions and start that process. And that would be the biggest thing I would tell. someone else. And I've been joining a lot of groups too with other female orthodontists to also learn from them and how they're doing it. And I found myself, I would talk to female orthodontist who had just opened a month or two before, and then I met someone else who was thinking about it, and then saw me doing it, and now they're doing it. And so it's been a great, just kind of like a chain of let's just help each other out, and that's what I love about it. I think our colleagues in our community.
So was there a moment, a defining moment that you said, this is it, I'm going to do it this year? And what was that moment?
I know. I honestly, it was like a whirlwind from the time where I was just thinking about it and getting motivated to do it to I just started looking around, not really thinking anything would happen. I started looking at my area and I did a demographic study to see if it would even be a good idea to do it in my area. Um, and then from there, I started looking at construction and, all, and then something just kind of fell in my lap, to be honest. I found a location, and when I saw where the location was and what was going around in the area, something clicked, and it was like, that's my spot. I can't explain it. It was a feeling. And it kind of just, I found it by accident. And from there, it kind of steamrolled from, to signing the lease to starting the construction. And it just kind of piled on itself a little bit.
Yeah, but for what I'm hearing, so you were not just in your head thinking, I want to do this. You actually took very tangible steps. You created the plan. Yeah, you did the market research and you were out there actually looking at the neighborhood and what's happening. So more than fell in your lap, you were actually putting
Yeah.
yourself out there. So
Yeah.
you were in the right time and place to see the opportunity.
Yes, you definitely have to at least do some research and just see what's out there. But I think once you find it, I feel like that that might be the right fit for you, and then that's how things move forward. So you're right. I mean, I was looking. I just wasn't expecting that from the time I started looking and I found it to the time I opened was less than a year. That's what I
Less
wasn't
than a year.
expecting. Yeah, that's the part I wasn't expecting, but I think it was the right time for me.
And from the moment that you were just thinking about it and the first step you took to do that market research, how long did you think about it? Was something, what were you waiting for? To have more experience working as a dentist, as an orthodontist,
I
before jumping into opening your own business?
No, I think when I graduated residency, it was a pretty difficult time. It was COVID. So I graduated right when COVID happened, and I had my daughter right when COVID happened. And so and I was starting to work for the first time. And so it was a lot, for me to try to just deal with. And then there is a learning curve, I think, when you go out in the world and you're no longer in a school setting. So, treatment is a little bit different, patients are different. And so there was a lot to learn. And then I had my son, and I always tell everybody, I think I was in a mommy fog for a little bit, where you're just trying to learn to be a mom and learn to have a family, and you're just working, but you're not thinking about the future. And I think once I got out of that fog of just motherhood, I started to think, you know what, there's more than I want to do. And I want to be able to show my daughter that, hey, we can create our own thing, and we can we can balance, and we can have anything we want, as long as we're working for it. And so it's been really cool for them to see that process, and for them to see mommy's working, mommy's busy, but mommy's here, and we're working towards something bigger and something exciting. And so that part has been was really nice for our family.
So it's about finding your purpose, right? And the
Yes.
building that legacy, that
Yeah.
example for
Yes.
your
Yeah.
children's working.
Yeah. And it's not that I expect my kids to be orthodontist or anything, but if they do, it's something that I can leave for them, which is really nice too.
Yeah, no, but I understand. But it's the example of whatever you want to become, or whatever you become, it has to be, grounded in hard work and also aspirations
Yeah.
and finding your purpose in life, your fulfillment. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much for the interview. It's been a pleasure. I'm so
Thank
eager to go and see your clinic in North Carolina. And
Anytime.
good luck with
Thank you.
everything. And thank you for the lovely interview.
Thank you. Have a good day.